make sure that the things you know you need to take care of, you have a system for taking care of. And that way, when you go to the activity that you are really excited about, you aren't thinking about all the trade-offs of like, oh, but if I'm here, now I have to be overwhelmed about what I'm gonna do when I get home, and like, when is this gonna happen, or when is that, like, you wanna be fully present in that moment when you're there. All right, welcome back, folks, to the Priority Report. I'm Scotti, and we are going to talk today about the really exciting and amazing new offer that I have for you guys. It is a hybrid of one-to-one coaching and your own online self-paced course. It is combined that way so that in your time between sessions, you have really clear, really defined exercises to be working on and working through to move you on your path to empowerment and move you towards being able to create the vision that you have for yourself and really transform through change. So I'm super excited to share this offer with you and all the things that it entails. But first, before we get into all of that, I wanted to start a new segment with this episode where we really sit down and do a priority report. So I'm going to give my own priority report for the week that will walk you through how I prioritize my time and what are the different habits, routines, and systems that I am working on right now at developing for myself as a way of teaching through living. So let's get started with that first. I like to think of priorities as being very triangular. So there's three top categories, if you will, for my priorities at any given point in time. There's my business career, there's my family and relationships, and there is my health and fitness. And those are sort of the three that come to mind as being where my time is always trying to balance between. I was actually talking with my coach this past week around the fact that I really want to be putting my health and fitness as number one. That's where I tend to thrive, is when I can take care of me through my bodybuilding practices and otherwise. That sort of takes care of everything else. And in this particular season in life, I have had to figure out the best way to continue to work through the things that I'm working on in, say, my bodybuilding practice, but they aren't number one right now. Like, I have to be okay with the fact that my business is the higher priority and is taking up more of my time. And I love that. I love that for me. But it does require me to then reset expectations for myself around what are my fitness goals going to look like. Same with relationships. I'm not traveling to see friends as much right now. I am trying to make a concerted effort at engaging with people that are more local to me and making sure that I continue to develop those relationships, because they are a great source of renewal, a great source of feedback and being a good sounding board, and they keep my network active. And so moving through these three spaces is the constant juggle that I have to do. So with that being said, I'll give the example of like this past weekend. I don't typically, to my chagrin, I do not typically work like 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. I end up working in some capacity throughout any of the 7 days of the week. It's part of the brilliance of having your own schedule. It's also part of the downfall of making your own schedule. But this past weekend, I took some time off and I had just a really amazing time with some great friends at a backyard barbecue to just celebrate the summer solstice. hang out by the river, do some floating, eat some good food, make some new friends. And that was just like it was a really fantastic experience. And I'm really glad that I carved that out for myself and allowed myself to indulge in that time frame. And so I did that for the afternoon, and then I ended up picking up the dog, and we went over to another friend's that evening who were hosting some people as sort of a memorial to somebody that they had recently had passed, and spent some more time just getting to meet people that I hadn't met before and get to know my friends and their social circles better than I had before. And I think that those are some really important moments. It was really good for me to get away from the house, get out of my work routine, my work mode, and like be thinking about other things and engaged in different conversations, and just seeing how other people are thinking, living, talking, and that just felt really like juicy and awesome. So I'm so glad that I spent time doing that. And then I had people over on Sunday for a little puppy play dates, and hosted dinner. And I love, I don't know if you guys know this, but I just love hosting. I really do. I love to cook. I have this beautiful dining room table that I happen to be sitting at this moment, that I purposely bought because I wanted to be able to have people over and have people to share meals with, because that's just a really important value that I have of how to build relationship and commune, and have deeper conversation is really around a dining room table. So it was so amazing to get to spend more time with my little guy Garfie's besties, Bailey and Brody, are two giant golden retrievers that he deeply adores playing with, and then of course their dog parents, who came, and we just had a really nice time. The dogs got to run around the backyard. We had stuffed peppers because that's one of my favorite things to make. So I got to do that, and it was really delightful. It was very easygoing, and again, like I didn't have to think about work so much. Now I say that, and here's something that I want you to think about. I knew the time frames that I was going to these activities for in all three instances. And so when I looked at my schedule for the weekend, I have some very tight-knit routines, we'll say, for my weekends to make sure that like the dog gets his food made, that his walks still happen, that the laundry gets done, that the dishes are finished, that like it's a tidy it up, put it back together, start fresh routine. Like the floor needs to get swept, the trash needs to get taken out, all the lifey things. All the lifey things that we all have to do. And I try and have a system for getting through those, mostly on Saturday mornings, and there's sort of a Sunday morning finish up routine. So things like I knew that I needed to get the recycling taken to the recycling center before I was to go anywhere. So I looked at my calendar ahead of time and said, okay, what do I need to accomplish between the time that I get up on Saturday and 2 o'clock when I leave for this first event. And then I plan accordingly. So if I have my normal routine in the morning where I'll get up, I get myself weighed, I get the dog up, he gets to go outside for a minute, I get his breakfast ready, I feed the cat, I feed myself, I let him back in, he gets to eat, we go on our walk, I come back, he gets to go play outside again. And then I was able to do things like make the bed, put clean sheets on. Once I did that, then I could start the laundry. Once the laundry was going, then I could gather up all of the recycling and make sure that that was put in the car so that I could drive that over on my way. then I was able to like wipe down and clean the kitchen. So picked up what I needed to. Then I made Garfie's dog food, and then I went ahead and cleaned those dishes. But just trying to figure out like what's the best order of operations so that I'm using my time as effectively as possible. So if I know how long or how many loads of laundry I need to do, and I know which clothes or like sheets or towels or like what's needed the most, then I'll try and plan my loads accordingly. Or if like certain stuff doesn't dry as well or needs longer to dry, I try and plan that so that those things are done first and they can go onto the drying rack the earliest. But I try and schedule that out and have my like chores and have them bucketed in such a way that like I don't have to think about it when I get up in the morning. I just know like it's Saturday, here's the rundown of how things are gonna go. And if I know that I can't get something in, like say I can't get my grocery shopping in on Saturday because I'm going to this thing in the afternoon and I just don't have the time to really do it as is, you know, truly effective, or I'll end up there 4 times this week, then I'll push that and say, okay, I will go to the grocery store on Sunday and I'll do that first thing so that I can do my meal prep, and that will be my Sunday morning activity. So I try and balance the like home life things to be built around but still very regimented according to the time boxes that I have other things to do. And I think that's really important to just point out, because we all have stuff that's like going on the weekends, whether you have kids that are in sports or you have your own things that you like to do, or what, you know, it's summertime, people want to be outside and doing stuff. I think it's really important to make sure that the things you know you need to take care of, you have a system for taking care of. And that way, when you go to the activity that you are really excited about, you aren't thinking about all the trade-offs of like, oh, but if I'm here, now I have to be overwhelmed about what I'm gonna do when I get home, and like, when is this gonna happen, or when is that, like, you wanna be fully present in that moment when you're there, without the care and the worry and the other nonsense that plays in our personal narrative that can be distracting from really enjoying ourselves in the moment, in the place that we are with the people that we're with. So I try and really make a point of that. I also try and make a point of not, which I know is, from a social media perspective, is to my own detriment, but I don't keep my phone on me a lot when I am at social activities. Because as much as I would love to capture my smiling face with all of those people, being present in that moment typically takes precedent for me. Over making sure that I've got whatever footage it is that I need for social media or posting to my stories. Like, I don't really want to be doing that while I am in the midst of having an experience with people. So that's another like little tip trick that I throw out there, because it's really easy to get caught up on always thinking about the next thing that we have to do. And not being focused on what it is that we're doing in the here and now. So that covers off on friends, family, relationships. The third space is the fitness space. And this may or may not apply to some of you, depending on your fitness regimen and how much that interests you. But I find that my practice that supports all of the habits that we were just talking about in my personal life really stems from needing to have really structured, solid habits for my bodybuilding practice. It's definitely something that is I'm still new to. Like, there are people that have been bodybuilding, especially at my age, for like 15, 20 years at this point. I'm on like year 2.5. However, that's not to say that that's the entire length of my fitness journey, but it is the amount of time that I've been way more conscientious around the level of discipline that it takes when my goals are very oriented towards certain outcomes. So let me contextualize that a little bit. In bodybuilding, we're looking to build a lot of muscle for aesthetic purposes, which means that we're looking to build specific muscles, and we're looking to we're more concerned with muscle mass than we are with physical strength. So in contrast to powerlifting, which I did before bodybuilding, in powerlifting, you're not really concerned about physique, and you're way more concerned around compound movements. So movements that you need the entire body to do, or multiple large muscle groups in order to execute, versus to work on the isolated muscles individually in bodybuilding. So like in bodybuilding, you might work out your biceps, and you might work on your glutes, and you might work on your any of them, right? Your delts. But we don't always do, like, compound movements are not always best for the purpose of putting on more muscle mass, so much as strength. So because I went from powerlifting to bodybuilding, that means that my goals had to change too. And my mindset, my goal orientation had to change as well. So I couldn't be, and I can't be, focused on increasing the amount of weight as the measure of success, the way that I could in powerlifting as I'm doing bodybuilding. And because the bodybuilding sport is way more about putting on muscle mass, that means that I have to be even more structured around the foods that I eat and how much I'm eating, because how I am feeding my body is what allows how I'm feeding my body, how well I'm sleeping, what it is that I'm drinking, all how much stress I have. These things all impact how well I can put on muscle. And they impact, as they do for everyone, regardless of what sport you are in, impact how much fat you're putting on your body at the same time. And you can't gain muscle without gaining fat, which is a conversation for a different time that is not for this episode. But the point being that I have been working on putting on muscle, so I have not looked as toned as is maybe associated with being a bodybuilder. That's just the season that I happen to be in, and anyone who is in the long game of bodybuilding does have to fluctuate between a build season and a cutting season. So right now I'm in a build season. That should be changing here pretty soon, and so I'm also going to have to be ready that my goals are going to shift again, where my calorie intake is going to go down. And because my calorie intake is going to go down, I again have to structure my food, but I have to structure it differently. And my relationship with food, I have to think about differently. So there's never a moment in my life where I'm like, I can eat whatever I want. I can eat whatever I want in terms of the gamut. I don't like shame any foods, but I have to be more conscientious around how much of certain foods it is that I am eating, or when I am eating them, or how much I'm eating of them. So bearing all of those things in mind, like anytime that you go into an extreme sport, that can be a full-time job unto itself. And I love that sport regardless of whether I am getting paid for it or not. But it does, because of the level of discipline that it has attached to it, I cannot give to it the same way that I want to at that full-time job level when I have a business to run that I am currently in a growth season of. So I have to look at what are the things that I'm trying to accomplish within that space right now. So if we're sticking with, I'm in the midst of a build, I'm trying to add muscle, there's the optimization option of that, and then there's what can I get done. So my measure for success as of late has had to be, instead of do all the things, and do them perfectly and do them all the time, has been like, I have 4 workouts I need to get in every week. I've been able to get in 2. 2 is still better than 0. So if I'm getting in and I'm getting 2 done and I'm doing the 2 that I didn't get done the week prior, then I am making sure that my workouts overall are still covering the gamut of the muscle groups that need to be worked. I am prioritizing that I am getting sleep when I need to sleep and rest when I need to rest. So I'm not just saying like, oh, I don't have time to get 4 workouts in. No. I am making a very conscious decision that instead of getting 4 workouts in, I'm going to get 2 workouts in as my goal for the week. And then I make sure that I'm getting enough sleep to offset that I'm getting my steps in to offset that I am managing my stress levels. So it isn't that I just didn't want to go. And it isn't that I somehow like have failed at hitting 4. But I have to look at like, what else do I have going on? If I can't go into the gym and train in a way that's going to be effective, so not being able to put in the level of effort that is required in order to build the muscle, I don't see a point to going, and my ability to evaluate how well I can go in and put in the effort has way more to do with my stress, am I sick, and how much sleep have I gotten. And if I'm sick, it's probably because my stress is high and because I haven't slept enough. So I am working from a mental emotional standpoint on balancing out, like, it's okay that you can only get 2 in. Or my tracking hasn't been great for my food. There are a lot of trade-offs that come with not tracking your food because you have a lot less data to work off of and you can't really make decisions very well without having more data. So getting back to tracking is a goal for me as of recent that I need to get more clear on. Now, there are a number of preliminary goals or preliminary, let's call them intermediate objectives, actually. Let's call them intermediate objectives. They are objectives that sit in between the bottom and the top of where we're trying to get to. So the ultimate goal is the top, where you are is at the bottom. We take stepping stones that are intermediate objectives to get to the high level goal. So if what I want to do is track things that are very helpful to get to the tracking portion are also making sure that I am planning out my meals, that I have a concerted effort in when I go to grocery shop so that I don't end up there 4 times a week, that I meal prep when I get home so that things are already measured according to what my tracker is going to require of me when I go to put them in. All of these smaller nuances make the barrier to entry of achieving the tracking so much easier. So the idea of doing smaller goals to get to a bigger goal is that hopefully we're setting up patterns in our habitual behavior that make it just the easiest next step to be doing the thing that it is that the goal requires. So this week, as an intermediary step, I have been very focused on making sure that I am getting a better water intake. I am terrible at drinking water, absolutely terrible at it, and always have been. I don't know why. I'm supposed to drink about 2.5 liters a day, according to my coach, who keeps track of all of my data on on what's going on with my body. And I have the preliminary steps that I would give you if this was a challenge of yours are make sure that you have a favorite water bottle. I have one. Make sure that you're filling it. I do that. And make sure it's always on your person. I do that too. What I don't do is actually drink out of the water bottle. So what I have been instituting this week is little, I'm kind of gamifying it for myself. Like, hey, if I find myself feeling the munchies, oh, let me drink some water first. Or if I see somebody else drinking water, then I will drink water. If there is something that I wanted out of the fridge, I have to drink water before I go and do that. So I'm finding ways to cue myself to go drink water. What I am, to my own chagrin, what I'm not very good at is the other thing I would recommend to you, if you can't cue yourself like that, would be to set reminders on your phone, set reminders where you will look to take a break, or where you could use a break. Set a timer for how often you need to go and drink water. I'm not very good with that because I will just ignore said timer. But if I can make it happen organically, which I prefer, frankly, is if I can find organic cues that remind me that, hey, I need to drink water, I'm more likely that when I am not in my normal work routine, or it's not Wednesday at 10:15 and the timer is dinging, that I am still naturally getting into the habit of putting water into my system. So let me name off those priorities for you as I see them in order, and then we'll move on from there. So from the triangle, the top priority right now continues to be my business. My secondary group of priorities is my fitness. Again, when I take care of me, I'm able to take care of my people so much better. And so the third priority then is friends and relationships. Within each of those, I'm very excited, and we'll talk about this momentarily, to be announcing this brand new offer to you that I've been working diligently on, and I think that you're going to super love and appreciate. I haven't seen anything like it out in the marketplace, and so I really think that this is going to be revolutionary for you. I know it's been revolutionary for me. It's my process put onto paper and made tangible for other people to follow. So we'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. Second is my fitness. So like I said, I'm really focused on this week. My habit that I am working on is drinking water. And then where I can fit my workouts into my week, I am aiming for a minimum of 2. But I require, before I go launching into any number of workouts, to make sure that my sleep is on point, that I am well fed enough, and that I have my stress levels managed. So that being said, let's talk more about this program, shall we, guys? I cannot tell you just how stoked I am about this. So what this program does is it's going to take you from the career exhaustion that you are feeling. Now, that could be any number of sources. For some of us, that is being the entrepreneur who is constantly on the grind and does not know how to take time away from the biz. For others, that might be working in a nonprofit, and the stress that comes with all of the all of the dire need that underserved populations that many nonprofits serve are feeling right now, and the need that is constantly growing, being very overwhelmed by the purpose and passion that you are putting all of your energy towards. For others, it might be the stress of you work in a public-facing job, whether that's as a firefighter or a paramedic or a teacher or a social worker, but you're constantly inundated with what the general populace is feeling right now. And there's a lot of angst out there and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people that are emotionally unhinged because of those things. And it's a big part of your job to come in and be a source of grounding and come in to solve a problem, and so that can be stressful for a number of reasons. Like, you're seeing very traumatic experiences that you now have to process. You have things going on in your own life that you have to balance out with your work life. The stress of the job is then balanced out by like the stress of you work an odd schedule, and so how do you manage those competing priorities between what you've got going on in your home life and what you've got going on in your professional life? And how do you take care of yourself through all of that? It gets really, 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 really dicey. Or you might just work a corporate job, and frankly, like, the heart and soul of whatever the business is that you work for is not speaking to your soul. And we know right now, like, corporations are heavy on the emphasis of for profit, not for people. So if you're feeling like a cog in the wheel who can't get out of their inbox and is expected to people please at a level that makes you give up your own personal well-being, that can be a challenge that needs to be worked through. And how do we get back to what's really and truly going to make us live a fulfilled life? And in any one of those instances, getting a grasp on all of it is what this program is here to do for you. So we're going to talk about the 5 stages to successfully crafting the take back of your time. And what I mean by that is that you only get so many hours in the day. You get 24, and it's renewable every single day. But you don't get to like bank it if you don't use it, or get it back if you didn't like it. Like, there's no return policy. So how we use our time, which we have no control over when we don't get a new day, when the clock doesn't start again, becomes really important. And it's really like the fundamentals of how we can start to control our own experience is to really start to think about where our time is being spent and how we're spending it and how we're feeling in the moments that we are spending that time. With me so far? So in case I haven't mentioned it before, my background, why I do this, why I'm the person you want to come to for it. I worked in corporate for a very long time. I've also worked on the nonprofit side, but I have my master's in organizational psychology. I spent a lot of time working with individuals on change and change practices within organizations, and I saw and experienced firsthand how much the organization is not there to take care of you. It is there to take care of itself. And I don't say that with judgment. Like, a corporation is a corporation. A corporation does what it does. It is not there to be your new best friend. So you don't need to give it the effort that you give to your best friend. You need to give it what it gives back to you. So it is a transactional relationship. I'm not saying don't love your work, and I'm not saying don't love the people that are at your work. I'm just saying don't expect that your job is going to give you something about your identity or some sort of fulfillment at a deeper more truer, meaningful level if that organization that you work for does not have the same doesn't have the same ideals or values that you have for yourself, and that if you are in a position of that is not providing, where you don't feel like what you're providing is gives you a tangible, meaningful outcome that you can look at and say, like, look, I made a difference. I feel good about what I did today. We need to reevaluate. What the barometer is for what good looks like. So I did that in the corporate sphere. I kept running into people who were going through massive change, whether that was they'd been through a reorg or a layoff or survived a layoff, or they had new leadership, or the C-suite changed over, whatever the case may be, and were struggling with what their career was meaning to them, how they were supposed to then operate, what were new expectations, and having to suss all of that out. And what I found was that, my role in corporate was to help push the agenda of making the business run as operationally efficiently as possible, and to orient everyone towards doing that. And I don't think that that's the wrong approach, but I do think that in doing so, it wasn't very kind and did not give me the opportunity to really address people at the fundamental human level, where I could assist them in what that emotional roller coaster of change really feels like and help to transform their lives at that level. So that's what I do now. I'm sure you know, I hope you know this by now, maybe not. It always helps to say it again. That's what I do now, is I help individuals through personal change, transformations that come in many shapes or forms, but essentially, when you're walking away from an engagement with me, you should be walking away with the skills, knowledge, and tools for how to navigate constant change that is happening in your environment, and or that you are determining and discerning that you want to opt into, right? So some change we inflict upon ourselves, that's what called growth. Growth is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. And it really helps us to move into like our higher level selves. Well, it helps to have somebody alongside you to do that, because it's hard. And I think it's a real big fallacy to think that you're gonna go it alone, or that you need to go it alone. So as I dove into my own experiences of getting my own coaches, I found that my tendency is, and always has been, if I've run into a situation where I am struggling, whether it's with a change or whether it's like I've hit a roadblock and if I had messed something up at work, or if something didn't go as well as planned, or when I hit a point of being like, I didn't have the skills that I needed to navigate this well. I need to go get those skills so that I don't have to relive this experience. I want to know how to do it better the next time around. Like, going and finding those skills started off in books, and then it started into podcasts, and then eventually it has grown into having coaches, because I don't feel a need to schlep through the mud by myself, doing it the hard way, when I can have a full-fledged sounding board with somebody who is a real human, who has the skills and expertise that I want, and that has done it before. I think that is that's part of the beauty of the human experience, right? It's we should be learning from others. We should be looking for people who have skill sets that are different from ours, or that we want to attain, and go learn from them. That learning is a beautiful, beautiful thing that no one can take away from you. It is part of the package that's called your personal agency. So the more that you can tap into, I don't know how to do this, or I'm stuck in a rut, or I'm struggling and I don't know how to get myself out of, whether it's a mental state or it's a situational state or it's a physical state, look and find someone, if it's not me, someone who is more appropriately fit for your calling to help you with that. Smarter, faster, better, folks. That is what people are here to help you with. That is what I want to impart to you on our journey together in this world. So that is what this program helps me to do. And like I had said at the beginning of our call, so the program is called the Empowerment Method. And I needed it because I felt so burnt out in my job. And my corporate job, before I went into business for myself, although I still keep tabs on it today. Burnout is still possible for entrepreneurs. It's just a different burnout. But I was so burnt out and I was so lost on how I was supposed to be contributing to a larger, like to some greater good, to like something that was meaningful and valuable, like that I saw as meaningful and valuable, and where I felt like I was being appreciated and that people valued me. And when I hit that rut, I was like, there's gotta be a way to re-engineer this, that isn't just a bunch of like froofy, fluffy self-talk bullshit, that has its place, but I don't need passive affirmation. I needed to do something. I needed to take steps to make an actual change to my life, and stop being beholden to the circumstances that were happening around me, and spending all of my time reacting instead of proacting. Or responding, but proacting in this particular instance is probably a better fit. So when I thought about what would be beneficial for me, I had to go back to like, what do I actually care about? All right. So we've got these 5 stages that happen within the empowerment method. They are: refine your identity, uncover your superpowers, align your personal change, set authentic goals, and build your legacy. All right. So when I start talking about what actually matters to me, I needed to get more specific about my identity. What was it that was influencing me because I got me to where I was. I got me there. No one else got me there. I put myself into that situation. When I found myself all burnt out and a hot mess and unhappy, I had to recognize that I had built the stepping stones to get myself into the cage that I was in. It wasn't what I anticipated it being. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I had taken the steps that had gotten me into that place. And so I needed to reevaluate, like, what did I hold on to and care about so much that led me to where I was? So things that I wholeheartedly cared about and thought were my way, truth, and light. I was very motivated for a long time around the salary that I was going to be making. That was an incredibly important status symbol for me. I wanted a certain lifestyle and still do, frankly, not going to lie about that. But the way that I had gotten there was brutal. I saw myself in leadership roles and I wanted to lead. And I spent a lot of time, money, energy, training to put myself into situations where I could be a good leader, and worked my way up into middle management directorship. So the title was very important to me because I was trying to climb a ladder. Where I forgot was you don't want to just climb a ladder, you want to climb a specific ladder for specific reasons. And when I looked at the ladder that I had been climbing, I was like, this doesn't even align to my skill set, frankly. So let me tell you what I mean by that. So I went into business operations. I ran marketing ops teams for efficiency purposes for years. But I am very much a strategist. That is how my brain operates. And where I was most successful is where those two things would overlap. But oftentimes that was against expectation and not well received, if you will, because it is not expected for operational leaders to want, need, or have a say in the strategies that they are operationally executing on. And so I had this weird pairing of like, can I do the role that I have? Yes. Do I have the skills to do the role that I have? Yes. But I'm not happy because the skills that I have that I want to be exercising do not align with the stuff that I am doing. And my expectations of others were based on the skill set that I wanted to be using, not the skill set that I was using. So when I looked at my team, I wanted my team to act strategically. Well, my team wasn't built with strategic people. Or it was built with strategic people who were just as frustrated as I was because their roles didn't involve any kind of strategic thinking orientation. And they were not given the flexibility in their roles to even exercise those skills if they wanted to, culturally. So our second stage is to really identify what are your superpowers? What are the things that that get you going, that you're like excited about from like a mental stimulation perspective? So there's hard skills. We go and we learn how to, I don't know, change a tire. Or you're a computer programmer and you had to learn how to write HTML code. These are hard skills that like HTML code, at least in theory, last I checked, guys, what is the same regardless of which programmer happens to be writing it. Like, it's not like HTML is HTML is HTML, but application is everything, right? Intention is everything. So we have to look beyond what are the physical, tangible skills that we have that we write on our resumes and start looking at what's our role in the social behavioral pieces of the work it is that we do in whatever context that happens to be, and where do we thrive? Do we work best by ourselves? Do we work best in partnerships? Do we work best in small groups? Do we work best leading large teams? What is it that appeals to us about that? And then what is it that appeals to you about each of those types of scenarios, or whichever one happens to resonate with you the most? And then what makes you feel successful when you're in those positions to do so? Those are the things that we have to get at. And ironically, I think, maybe ironically, maybe not ironically, but the more that we can speak to those intangibles, those soft skill pieces, the better that we can be at aligning ourselves to career projects or careers or jobs, however you want to look at it, that are better aligned to us, so that we don't end up in situations like I did where I was like, this is a mismatch and this is a problem. Now I get to do both sides as an entrepreneur, but I would not suggest that for everyone. But your situation can be very similar. So it may not be that you hate teaching or that you hate whatever career path, like you could still be in love with doing that thing, but the context in which you're doing it has to change, or the context in which you're doing it, like the environment or the people or the age range. Like there's so many ways to look at it to say like, what, maybe it's the wrong type of teaching. Like there are so many ways to look at it and be like, how do we even take teaching and take it out of the school context of teaching and reapply it in a different area? Because we teach one another, hence why I was talking to you earlier about mentorship. Teaching one another is one of the most important things that we can do, just like learning is one of the most important things that we can do. But we have to be in our lane where we are thriving in order to impart our information well. That leads us to stage 3. So in stage 3, you're looking to define your change. We're doing the gap analysis that says, like, what's the difference, man? Like, where are we sitting with all this? We've got the reality of I'm unhappy and I need to really determine what's the cause of that. Like, what's my root cause for not being well? What got me here? And then there's what's the vision for the future that I want to hold? What do you really want? What does that look like? Because the answer of, well, I don't want this is not a sufficient answer, right? Like, we have to start to paint a vision, like literally, figuratively, however you want to, like, I love a good vision board, folks. I'm not going to lie. Love me a good vision board. Love a good collage. However you want to do it, but like, you have to have an idea of what's not working, what you want things to be, and then how, like, what do you, let me just stop and pause and think about how I should put this. Like, what are the non-negotiables that exist in between? So there are going to be things about life today that you want to hang on to and that should be the same fundamentals as the vision that you have for yourself going forward. So at the beginning, you've defined your identity to say, here are the common values. Here's me at a values-based level. This has to remain true regardless of whether we're in today or we're in the future. This is what I want to hang on to. So we need to know what our non-negotiables are that tie those things together. And then we have to recognize what's the change that does have to occur. So we've got today, we've got current state, we've got future state, we've got what needs to stay the same. And now you've got to define, like, what's the actual change? What is it going to take? What are the tangible things that have to happen to get from point A to point B? Okay. That moves us into stage 4. So when you get to a vision for the future, now we have to start setting some goals up for, like, we're pragmatically going to move from point A to point B. So we had talked earlier in this episode around intermediate objectives. I was giving some examples. You've got the big vision. The big vision usually includes multiple big goals. Sometimes those can happen at the same time. A lot of times they can't. All right. So we have to start to, like, find where does our focus need to be first based on where we are at today and what feels like we can get the smallest, quickest wins in on. So I try and work with my clients on, we identify what the goals are, we identify intermediate objectives, and then we try to sequence those so that we have an idea of, like, okay, here's phase 1, here's phase 2, here's phase 3, here's how we're moving through. The example that I like to give that might resonate with you is, like, we have training programs and we have training blocks in my fitness world. So I might be on a particular program for like 6 weeks at a time. It's actually probably closer to 8. It doesn't matter. But I'm on this program. So my 4 workouts a week end up being the same 4 workouts for plus or minus 6 to 8 weeks. And within that 6 to 8 week time frame, I'm working on strengthening vis-a-vis progressive overload. So I'm continuing to push and push and push to make it harder and harder for myself. So I keep upping the ante throughout that 8 weeks so that I'm ready to change programs and move to a new stimulus and a new program the 6 to 8 weeks after. It's the same concept when we break down your goals. We want to start with, like, the minimum viable change is always like, what's the easiest habit for us to implement that gets you the biggest bang for your buck. So we want to take everything down in our stage 4 to what are the habits, the routines, and the systems that you can build that are going to move the needle for you to start to transform yourself and your mindset and your behaviors towards becoming the person that you've always wanted to be, who has the life that you've always wanted. We're bridging that gap. So stage 4, we're setting up the pyramid, the experience of like, how do we break down the big goals into really bite-sized tangible pieces? And phase 5 is actually executing on those. So I live in that space right now, which is why I was telling you earlier about my priorities. I have to think on the daily. I know what I want my life to look like in 5 to 10 years. I have my vision board for what I think that's going to look like. I also have goals for like, what do I want my life to look like in a year from now? What do I want my life to look like? What am I working on in my business for my business to look like in 6 months? What I do today does not, like the seeds I plant today in my business do not sprout and grow in less than 90 days. That is just that's a good rule of thumb in life, is what you do today impacts what's going to happen to you in 90 days. So if you're looking to get a goal or you're looking to accomplish something that is that has more long-term effect, you can't be looking for some sort of validation in the moment right now. It's not going to happen. You put the work in step by step, day by day, right now, with the intended outcome to be 90 plus days out. Because it takes time for things to come to fruition. Because it takes time for the habit to actually set in and become a daily part of your routine. So what you do right now is going to set you up for the success that you want in 90 days. All right, so those are our 5. Let's go through them one last time. Let me roll through them. You've got refine your identity. So we're taking a look at like what truly matters. What are those core fundamental values? What are your operating principles? Like what does being a good person look like for you? I want you to put words to that. The second thing you're going to do is uncover your superpowers. You're going to figure out what are the things that actually make you feel successful. When do you feel like most aligned, most good in what it is that you are doing? Whether that's in your professional life or in your personal life, doesn't matter. But when do you get that feeling of like, yes, this was awesome. I feel good about this experience. What happened in that? How did you contribute to it? Those are the superpowers we want to get to. The third is identifying what your personal change is. What's the actual difference between today and where you want to be? That still holds those fundamental principles true, but we need to figure out like what's the actual transformation that's unique to you that you want to go on to get to where it is that the person you fully want to actualize to be. All right, we set goals. Number 4, set authentic goals, so unique goals unto you that help you to leverage your superpowers, that stay true to your values, that align to your change, to help create a pragmatic program for you to work your way to where it is that you're trying to go. And then lastly, we work the process we just built. So when it gets hard, we talk about it being hard. When life gets lifey, we figure out how do we reprioritize, or how do we change the goal from 4 workouts to 2 workouts? How do we get to that place where we can feel successful, even if it's at a micro level, that we're walking our path towards what it is that we are looking to ultimately achieve? All right, so that is the outline of what the empowerment method is. Now, it comes to life as being a one-to-one coaching experience. It's a minimum 6-month commitment. I recommend to people that you sign up for a year, and here's why. you think that you're gonna make it through. If you're one of those people who is a nerd like me and you're like, there's coursework that comes with this. Hey, I'm gonna be that straight A student who just gets an A+ and zooms through everything and like gets it all done in advance. No, false, it's not gonna happen. I promise you it's not gonna happen. And the doing, stage 5 is actually the hardest of the stages because it's the rubber meeting the road. And we can talk about things hypothetically all the livelong day, but the actual doing is very hard. And we don't necessarily wait until stage 5 to do the doing. You have to do the doing from day 1, but we don't really acknowledge, I shouldn't say we don't acknowledge, we don't emphasize the doing in the same way as we're sussing through stages 1 through 4 as we do when we are getting to stage 5. So let me say that another way. Life gets lifey, and that doesn't start at stage 5. That starts at like day 0. That started well before, like that's why you're coming to me, is because life got lifey. And so we have to work through that since day 1, but we are going through stages 1 through 4 as a way of laying foundation to make the lifiness get more manageable, all right? And then the moving us forward through the managing of it is really, it's about process and practice. You are building a practice. You are building a new way of walking through the world. So that takes longer. So if we got through all of the planning, stages 1 through 4 in 6 months, you're still gonna want the support for the next 6 to make sure that everything that you have laid the foundation of, that it's all coming together, it's all amalgamating, you've built up the habits, you've built up the systems, you've built up the routines, you've built up all of the skills that you need to continue on doing the things, regardless of whether you need help. So we don't want you to get to the end and then just have it kind of like fall flat because you're stuck self-managing again. I want to make sure that you feel supported and well on your way into like, you've got it. You've got it covered. But I do give the option, because try it before you buy it. Some people would prefer to stick to more of a 6-month plan, or a 6-month plan is what they can logistically or financially commit to right now. So I always tell people, you're doing one-on-one, that's weekly coaching sessions. Nobody gives that at the price that this is offered at, okay? Weekly private coaching sessions with me that are supplemented by a full course framework that you get to move through on your own time. So it is not that you have to come to each session and have done your homework for last week. That is helpful, but it's not expected that you get through a full module every single week, or that you are able to work through every exercise independently and by yourself. Like, it's there for us to have conversation, and then for you to be able to very pragmatically take everything that we talk about in our session and then go do something with it. Because what is the point if we sit here and we talk, and if there's you leave and you feel warm and fuzzy from our one-on-one, and then you can't implement? No good. I can't have that for you. I can't have that for me. I definitely can't have that for you. I want us to be working together to make sure that when you walk away from a session, you're like, this is what I am going to focus on for this week. And that feels manageable. It feels achievable. I'm gonna drink more water, like that, right? That's the idea, is that you know what you're fixated on for a short period of time, those next 6 days. We're gonna check in, we're gonna see how it's going, we're gonna understand like what were the things that worked well, what were the things that were working well, what were the unexpecteds, how do we overcome that next time, what can we do better, are we ready for something more? We're gonna put it all together, folks. It's gonna be chef's kiss. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing is what it is. I love what the results have been for my clients so far. I can give you just like a snippet of what some of them have said, which might be helpful to you. I have clients who've said things like, I just said no to an extra project at work and I don't feel guilty. That's honestly a first time for me. I've had other clients that have said like, wow, I caught myself pausing before I responded to that stressful email and I didn't even realize it, but I feel so much better not being triggered by that email and instead taking the time to respond in a way that was genuine to the person I want to be. These sound like small wins, guys, but they're not. Because when you can be true to who it is that you are and stand in your power, when you feel empowered to protect your own feelings, to protect yourself as things are coming at you, circumstantially or otherwise, like that's huge. Those are big things, to be able to stand in your own power and take care of saying like, no, actually this project is probably not best for me to take on right now for whatever number of reasons that happen, or whatever those reasons happen to be. Like, you are doing not only yourself a service, but you're doing them a service too. We want to show up as our best selves, and we can't do that when we're saying yes to things that are not aligned and that we don't feel good about. I don't want to spend my life and my time doing things that don't feel good to me. Like, fundamentally don't feel good to me. I feel violated when I say yes to things that I didn't really want to do. And that's me not being kind to me. That's not anybody else doing that. So when you can stand in your own power and say like, this isn't meant for me, but thank you, and find a way to offer up what is in alignment for you, that does deliver value, that you can feel good about. You showing up like that for yourself says volumes to other people, and it gives them permission to do the same. All right, so like those are important little wins. All right, when we model sending an email that is responsive rather than reactive, we're setting a precedent. We are modeling positive behavior, and not only is it in the email, but it's in how we choose to walk through the rest of our day, because it wasn't ruined by our reactionary response. We didn't allow ourselves to just fly off the emotional rails, and now all of a sudden everybody else that's coming into contact with us that day is dealing with us in all of our drama. Because we cool, because we chill, because we were true to who we needed to be, and who we needed to be brought us back to our values, and we were able to communicate that in an effective and low octave kind of way, if you will. A chill, a more reserved, resigned, better way than just being reactive. So those are huge things. I've had another client who had said to me like, I don't feel like I'm a different person. I just feel like I know myself better now that I've walked through this program. And having a better understanding of myself then allows me to walk into the world and look for things that are aligned for me and say yes to opportunities, because the opportunities that I really want are now showing up because I know what I'm looking for. That's huge. That's so exciting for me. That is what I want for you. So this is, where can you find out more about this program? Well, I have an awesome webinar coming up on August 19th for you. It will be at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will talk through all of these things that encompass the empowerment method. So if you want to learn more about each of the phases, or you want to review them again, please attend that webinar. 2 weeks after that, you have a window of opportunity to, this is from August 19th, for 2 weeks after, you can join the waitlist, and there will be some special bonuses and exclusive offers for people who want to sign up early. And then general admission open to the public will start in early September. So if you want to take a moment to think about it, if you want more information, obviously you can always reach out to me directly, slide into my DMs, email me, whatever, like put a note in the comments. I am happy to chat with you night and day about this, because I am so jazzed. It's gonna be awesome. But also, if you want to submit your application early, that is also an option. If you're looking, those won't be reviewed until later on in September, but you can always go to theempowermentmethod.com, and that will walk you through everything you could possibly want to know about me, about Slow Living Solutions, my company, about the empowerment method itself. You can find a ton of other resources available to you there. But I highly suggest that you take a look and get into this ASAP. There are limited spots. I am not joking about that. I am not just saying it fluffily. I am not just trying to drive urgency. No, I can't host more than like 12 of you at a time because I have to protect my energy and I want to protect your experience to be as customized, personalized, as highly engaged as possible, and for me to show up fully present for you, and give you all of the knowledge, wisdom, power, experience, all of the things that I have to offer. I need to be limited in how many of you I am taking on all at once. So that is me being very candid and saying like these are limited spots, and they are limited spots for a reason, because this kind of very personalized experience, this very personalized support is it's a lot. So be excited about that. Take a look at it. Let's wrap up this episode. I'm very excited to launch this. If you want to know what on the priorities list is happening behind the scenes of my business, it is getting this out to you guys as soon as possible. Your feedback is always appreciated, and your thoughts are always appreciated. I'm happy to answer any questions. So I look forward to seeing you again online and in the next episode. So take care.